Su Haoqian accompanied me to the hospital for a checkup, where we unexpectedly encountered the female and male protagonists. After the male protagonist departed, the female protagonist, looking quite pitiful, implored, "Brother Haoqian, I feel a bit dizzy. Could you accompany me to see a doctor?" I watched the unfolding drama with great enthusiasm, thinking, it seems the female protagonist has had a quarrel with the male lead and is now seeking solace from Su Haoqian. Su Haoqian cast a glance in my direction. Understanding dawned upon me. Evidently, my presence was deemed bothersome, and it was time for me to discreetly withdraw. I had traversed into the pages of a book, finding myself transformed into Su Haoqian's wife, a mere supporting character destined to be a foil. Su Haoqian was the deeply affectionate second male lead, the devoted admirer of the female protagonist, ever at her beck and call. According to the narrative, Su Haoqian would face financial ruin due to his pursuit of the female protagonist, instigated by the male lead. I had prudently prepared for a hasty retreat, yet no one had informed me that Su Haoqian could hear my innermost thoughts. 1. Fu Zhiyan, when you mentioned having matters to attend to, did you mean accompanying your childhood sweetheart to the hospital for a checkup? As Su Haoqian and I approached the entrance of the hospital, we were met with Tao Mengya's frantic inquiries, her voice piercing through the atmosphere and drawing the attention of those around us. It seems we have stumbled upon the protagonists. Could it be that yet another quarrel has erupted over the male lead's childhood sweetheart? I was curious enough to take a closer look. Despite my mild fever and cold, I found myself intrigued by this unexpected encounter. Observing the distress on the female lead's face, I could only imagine how anxious Su Haoqian must be feeling at this moment. With this thought in mind, I hesitated, stealing a glance at Su Haoqian's expression, which indeed bore a stormy countenance, enveloped in an air of chill. Understanding his sentiments, I suggested, "It appears that my sister and her husband are over there. Shall we investigate the situation?" Su Haoqian nodded noncommittally. Internally, I scoffed at his ability to feign indifference and hoped he wouldn't impulsively confront the male lead in defense of the female lead. After all, I was merely a patient and could not intervene. Su Haoqian shot me a cryptic glance. "What's the matter?" I blinked, perplexed. "Nothing, let's go," he replied. Meanwhile, Fu Zhiyan glanced at the gathering crowd, his impatience manifesting as he raked a hand through his hair. "Could you refrain from causing a scene? I've already told you. There's nothing between Yao and me. We grew up together. What is wrong with accompanying her for a checkup?" Tao Mengya, seething with rage, retorted with a bitter laugh. "You can find time to accompany her for a checkup, but not to be with me when I'm unwell? Who is your wife, her or me?" As the crowd continued to swell, Fu Zhiyan's patience reached its breaking point. "Is there no way to resolve this privately? Must you create such a spectacle?" Tao Mengya defiantly raised her chin. "So what if I do? If you wish to create a scene, then do so by yourself. I have no time to indulge your theatrics." With that, Fu Zhiyan coldly dismissed her and walked away. My thoughts echoed with disdain for the male lead's callousness. I glanced at Su Haoqian, relieved he had not lost his temper, and rushed to confront anyone. After Fu Zhiyan's departure, the crowd dispersed, leaving Tao Mengya standing alone. On the brink of collapse, she looked up to see Su Haoqian and me, her eyes filled with a pitiful plea. "Brother Haoqian, I feel a bit dizzy. Could you accompany me to see the doctor?" Completely disregarding my presence as her sister. 2. I was utterly engrossed in the unfolding drama. Oh look! The female lead is quarreling with the male lead and seeking solace from Su Haoqian. I found myself within the pages of a tragic romance novel, where Tao Mengya is the protagonist and also my sister. Fu Zhiyan is the male lead, Su Haoqian the devoted second male lead, while I am merely a supporting character. In the original text, whenever the female lead suffered at the hands of the male lead, she would turn to Su Haoqian for comfort. It was customary for Su Haoqian to be present during these quarrels, offering warmth to the female lead. It became clear why Su Haoqian had accompanied me to the hospital today. There was a scene unfolding between the protagonists. I poked Su Haoqian, who stood frozen. "Why are you just standing there? Can't you see your beloved needs you?" He looked at me, a flicker of fire evident in his gaze. I realized then that he likely found my presence bothersome and was prepared to make his exit. "Why don't you go with my sister to see the doctor?" "I merely have a slight cold. I can manage a quick 4 on my own." I waved dismissively, intending to take care of myself. Yet, Su Haoqian firmly grasped my wrist, preventing me from leaving. "What is wrong?" I asked, perplexed. "Tao Jingxian, you are quite generous," he replied. his tone laced with barely concealed irritation. Confused, I regarded him. Why was he looking at me as though I were a traitor? After a moment of contemplation, it dawned on me, he must be concerned about facing Grandma's wrath upon our return, hence the pretense. Surely that was the case, as he was not here of his own volition. Coming to this realization, I waved my hand nonchalantly. We all grew up together. My sister is like your sister. It's only right to help her. For reasons unknown, Su Haochuan's expression appeared even angrier. Tao Mingya approached, clinging to Su Haochuan's shirt, her demeanor pitiful. Brother Haochuan, I feel unwell. Her cheeks were flushed, indicating she was likely running a fever. Even I felt a twinge of sympathy at her woeful appearance. Su Haochuan, his face set in seriousness, took out his phone to make a call. 3. Ultimately, Tao Mingya was escorted away by Fu Zhiyan, who had returned. In the hospital ward, I sat quietly, receiving my 4, too afraid to make a sound. Su Haochuan's current demeanor felt intimidating. It was best not to provoke him. Was it truly necessary to be so furious just because the female lead had been taken by the male lead? Wasn't it her own fault for being so helpless? If only she had sought medical attention sooner, the male lead wouldn't have had to get involved. I scolded her repeatedly in my mind until I suddenly heard Su Haochuan's teeth gritting together as he called out, Tao Jingyan. I flinched, guilt washing over me as I looked at him. What's wrong? Su Haochuan, expressionless, replied, Be quiet. You're too loud. Huh? I was bewildered. I hadn't spoken a word. Had I inadvertently voiced my thoughts aloud? Su Haochuan, with a stern face, pounded away at his keyboard, visibly irate. I sealed my lips and shrank back into the corner. What else with the hostility? It's not as if I stole your beloved. If you have the courage to be angry at me, why not channel that energy into retrieving Tao Mingya? Just then, the sound of the keyboard ceased, and Su Haochuan abruptly stood up and walked toward me. What was he planning? Was he going to hit me? I watched him approach with trepidation. Su Haochuan, with a stoic expression, changed my medication bottle without uttering a word. Once finished, he returned to his seat and resumed typing furiously. I realized I had misjudged him. Thanks to his attentiveness, I had noticed that my 4 was nearly empty. I suppose I could grudgingly forgive him. After the 4, my fever had subsided significantly, leaving me feeling revitalized. Suddenly, my stomach let out a loud growl. Embarrassed, I glanced at Su Haochuan. I hadn't eaten due to my lack of appetite earlier, but now hunger had set in. Su Haochuan ruffled my hair, a hint of amusement glimmering in his eyes. Let's go, I'll take you to eat. 4. For quite some time, I had not seen the female lead. It seemed Fu Zhiyan had smoothed things over, and they were enjoying a period of sweetness. However, their bliss would be short-lived, as they were soon to face another tumultuous phase. In a few days, it would be my father's birthday banquet, and ordinarily, Su Haochuan, Tao Mingya, Fu Zhiyan, and I would all return to attend. Yet, at the banquet, Fu Zhiyan was absent, having chosen to accompany his childhood sweetheart instead. The childhood sweetheart secretly messaged Tao Mingya, driving her into a frenzy, resulting in her overturning a wine glass and splattering the original version of me. In the original narrative, I had become embroiled in a physical altercation with Tao Mingya, only for Su Haochuan to intervene, protecting her and rendering me a laughingstock. I could hardly contain my anticipation to dive into the plot. At that moment, I would seize the opportunity to propose a divorce to Su Haochuan, thus extricating myself from the entangled love and hate amongst the 3 of them. Even if Su Haochuan were to face bankruptcy at the hands of the male lead, it would not affect me. The day of my father's birthday arrived swiftly. Su Haochuan and I returned home early, and it was not until the banquet commenced that Tao Mingya finally made her appearance, alone, without Fu Zhiyan. I stood upon the balcony of the 2nd floor, gazing down into the rear garden, where I spotted Tao Mingya engaged in a phone conversation. The distance was considerable, rendering her words unintelligible. Suddenly, Tao Mingya erupted, exclaiming, Fu Zhiyan, you scoundrel, before abruptly terminating the call. It seemed she had summoned Fu Zhiyan to attend her birthday celebration, yet he had chosen to accompany his childhood sweetheart instead, infuriating her. Just as I contemplated diverting my gaze, I noticed Su Haochuan's arrival. My body, which had begun to retreat, leaned back against the railing once more. Alas, here we go again. The plot thickens. Whenever the female lead requires assistance, Su Haochuan appears without delay. The two of them commenced a conversation, and I was left in a state of agitation, straining to hear their words. As I pondered how to eavesdrop effectively, I witnessed Tao Mengya leaning towards Su Haoqian. "Wow!" I exclaimed, unable to contain my excitement. Su Haoqian immediately turned his attention in my direction. I hastily covered my mouth and slipped away. As a competent supporting character, one must grasp the subtleties of the moment. One should never appear when one is not meant to be present. After a few minutes, I stealthily returned to the balcony, cautiously peering down below. Just one glance, but there was no one there. With a slight sigh of disappointment, I turned only to find myself face to face with Su Haoqian's dark eyes. I gasped in surprise. Su Haoqian, what are you doing here?" I stammered, patting my chest to calm my racing heart. Su Haoqian's eyes held a cryptic emotion as he extended a hand, revealing a silver necklace nestled in his palm. Instantly, I recognized it as the one I had misplaced that very morning. Astonished, I gazed at him. "Where did you find this?" "I searched for it all morning." Su Haoqian silently fastened the necklace around my neck and leaned in to whisper, "Do not lose it again next time." The fresh, crisp scent that lingered around him sent my heart racing unexpectedly. What was happening? Why was my heartbeat so rapid? It pounded so loudly, surely Su Haoqian wouldn't hear it. After securing the necklace, Su Haoqian stepped back, his gaze fixed intently upon me. His eyes, capable of conveying profound feelings, gave me the illusion that he held a special fondness for me. I was left at a loss, unsure of where to place my hands. What was the meaning of this? Why was he staring at me so intently? Did I have something on my face? Unconsciously, I touched my cheek. "Why do you keep staring at me? Is there something on my face?" Su Haoqian, seemingly unfazed by my question, remarked, "This necklace suits you beautifully." Suddenly, I recalled that this necklace was a gift from Su Haoqian on our wedding day, one I cherished and wore constantly. Su Haoqian continued to gaze at me, and unable to withstand the intensity of his stare any longer, I turned away to avoid his eyes. "You still haven't told me where you found this necklace," I said. Su Haoqian stood beside me, his eyes focused on the lawn below. "I found it down there." Following his gaze, I realized it was the same spot where I had earlier seen him with the female lead. My heart skipped a beat as I tentatively inquired, "Did you go there to help me find this necklace?" Su Haoqian nodded gently. A surge of complex emotions washed over me, leaving me momentarily speechless. Su Haoqian casually added, "Just now, Mengya seemed dizzy and unsteady, so I assisted her." I stared at him in surprise. Was he explaining himself to me? But as a mere supporting character, he need not justify his actions regarding the female lead to me. I managed a dryo. Su Haoqian resumed his intense scrutiny of me, his gaze seemingly capable of scorching my profile. "The banquet is about to commence. We should head downstairs," he declared. I dared not meet his eyes and turned to walk inside. In my haste, I stumbled over a chair and nearly fell. Was it my imagination? Or did I hear Su Haoqian chuckle softly? As Su Haoqian and I descended the stairs, we spotted Tao Mengya standing before our father, her expression one of distress. Father wore a dark scowl, evidently angered. I overheard him say, "I warned you against marrying him. You insisted on it. He isn't even here to accompany you for your birthday banquet. What on earth is he doing?" Tao Mengya bit her lip, remaining silent. I approached and took hold of father's arm. "Dad, please don't be angry. It's not my brother-in-law's fault for not coming. Why take it out on my sister?" "I do not need your feigned kindness," Tao Mengya retorted, covering her face as she fled. Father clutched his chest in exasperation. "Look at her, she's truly driving me to madness." I patted him gently. "Don't be upset, it's okay. The banquet is about to begin, and everyone is waiting for you, the guest of honor." Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Su Haoqian approaching, and I quickly signaled him to seek out the female lead. "What are you doing over here? Can't you see Tao Mengya is upset and crying? Hurry and comfort her. This is a splendid opportunity. You must seize it." Unfortunately, Su Haoqian seemed oblivious to my hints and approached me with a serious expression. "What is wrong with your eyes? Are they twitching?" A vein throbbed on my forehead. Su Haoqian and I truly lacked any rapport. Father also turned his concern toward me. I forced a smile. "I'm fine." Once the banquet commenced, Su Haoqian guided me around to meet various guests. With each introduction, he proclaimed, "This is my wife." My face ached from the effort of smiling. After exchanging a few words with Su Haoqian, I excused myself to rest. Glancing around, I noticed Tao Mengya alone in a corner, lost in thought as she stared at her phone, her expression shifting frequently. At that moment, it seemed her childhood sweetheart, Fu Zhiyan, had sent her a flaunting message. I decided to approach her to advance the plot. As I drew near, Tao Mengya accidentally knocked over a wine glass, splashing its contents all over me. She glared at me with a sullen expression. "What are you doing here?" It was as if she disregarded the fact that my clothes were now drenched. Observing that no one seemed to be paying attention, I took the initiative to shout, "Sister, I merely wished to check on you. Why did you douse me in wine?" My loud call attracted the attention of many onlookers. I caught sight of Su Haoqian hurrying over, and I smiled slyly, intensifying my performance. "Although you're feeling down, you still shouldn't pour wine on me." Su Haoqian took his place beside me, while Tao Mengya appeared flustered. "Brother Haoqian, you must let me explain. I did not intend to splash my sister." I stifled a grin behind my hand, anticipating the unfolding drama. "Are you all right?" Su Haoqian draped his jacket over my shoulders. I had just prepared to unleash my emotional performance when Su Haoqian interrupted my act. "Why are you looking at me? Look at Tao Mengya." I stared at him in disbelief, desperately signaling him with my eyes. "She's in a very bad mood. Hurry and show her some concern." Su Haoqian's hand brushed past my eye. "Is your eye bothering you again?" I remained speechless. "I'm fine." I feigned distress, darling. My sister just splashed wine all over me and hasn't even apologized. Regardless of the situation, I resolved to continue advancing the plot. Su Haoqian merely nodded, falling silent. Tao Mengya, incensed, retorted, "You're just putting on an act. If you hadn't approached me, I wouldn't have splashed you." She turned to Su Haoqian. "Brother Haoqian, please believe me, I truly did not mean it." She came close to me. "Yes, precisely, let the quarrel ensue. Even if I approached first, you still shouldn't have splashed me. Look at my dress, it's ruined." I removed my jacket to reveal the stains on my gown, only to be swiftly enveloped again by Su Haoqian's jacket. "Put it on." Su Haoqian's reaction was utterly perplexing. Although I had not engaged in any altercation with Tao Mengya, it was glaringly evident that I was the one imposing upon her. Why did he fixate on me without sparing her a glance? My agitation grew as I stared at Su Haoqian. His response rendered my performance untenable. "Su Haoqian, what is the matter with you? At this juncture, you ought to stand before Tao Mengya to protect her and admonish me instead. If you do not come to her aid, how can I broach the subject of divorce with you?" Su Haoqian gazed at me with those soulful eyes, typically reserved for a beloved pet. I averted my gaze, stammering, "Why are you looking at me like that? It was my sister who splashed me first. Even if you wish to defend your sister, I shall not yield." I emphasized the phrase "defend your sister," hoping to provoke a reaction in Su Haoqian. At last, he turned his attention to Tao Mengya. I anticipated the moment of reckoning. Yet, to my astonishment, he intoned, "Apologize to your sister." I stumbled back, incredulous as I regarded Su Haoqian. "No, Su Haoqian, do you realize what you are saying? Come to your senses. I am clearly the one causing trouble. Why should she apologize to me?" Tao Mengya, equally bewildered, looked at Su Haoqian. "Brother Haoqian, how have you changed? You were never like this before." "I have stated that it was not intentional." She approached me. "I will not apologize." With tears welling in her eyes, Tao Mengya departed in distress. I feared for her well-being and contemplated pursuing her, but Su Haoqian obstructed my path. "First, change your clothes." I glanced towards the direction in which Tao Mengya had left and then back at Su Haoqian, feeling utterly perplexed. Why was he deviating from the script? Surely, he couldn't genuinely believe that Tao Mengya had splashed me on purpose? No, I must clarify the situation. Otherwise, he might misunderstand the heroine's intentions. I licked my lips. My sister truly did not splash me intentionally. Goodness, he wouldn't think I was feigning innocence, would he? How did things spiral out of control like this? Su Haoqian replied nonchalantly, "Regardless of intention, she did splash you. An apology is warranted." I was taken aback. Was this right? Was this truly Su Haoqian's attitude towards the heroine? He was entirely shattering his persona. I scrutinized him with growing suspicion. I leaned closer and whispered, "Are you also from another world?" Su Haoqian furrowed his brow in confusion. "What do you mean by another world?" He appeared utterly genuine, not at all pretending. Reluctantly, I let the matter drop, and nothing. Alas, it seemed that this divorce was not meant to be. "Could you please check on my sister?" Her emotional state seems troubling. And I fear for her safety, I implored Su Haoqian. I recalled that in the original narrative, the heroine had been in a bad way, drinking excessively, but thankfully, Su Haoqian had been there for her. Without him, I worried she might find herself in peril. Su Haoqian sighed in apparent resignation and dialed a number on his phone. Moments later, he turned to me. I have dispatched someone to follow her. She will be safe, so do not fret. I nodded in appreciation. In truth, Tao Mengya was not a bad person. She was simply too infatuated. I couldn't help but muse, if only her romantic interest were Su Haoqian. How splendid that would be. Both were enamored, an impeccable match. However, should Tao Mengya's affections lie with Su Haoqian, this tale would transform from a tragedy into a sweet romance. Suddenly, Su Haoqian lightly tapped my forehead, a hint of irritation in his gesture. I blinked in surprise as he commanded, "Why are you still standing there? Go change your clothes." That night, we remained at home, departing only the following day. In the aftermath, I learned that Tao Mengya had run away from home. Fu Yanjia had finally recognized her significance and began his pursuit. It was time for the devoted male lead to make his entrance, silently supporting the heroine in her moments of despair. He would contest the male protagonist, igniting a sense of crisis within him, thereby propelling the relationship between the leads forward. Yet, I cast a quiet glance at Su Haoqian, who emerged from the kitchen with an array of delectable dishes. His routine revolved around home and the office, returning promptly to prepare meals for me. How could he possibly have time to concern himself with the heroine? I watched him, my mouth watering at the sight of his culinary creations, deciding to probe him further after dinner. Once the meal concluded, I patted my pleasantly full belly and casually inquired, "Su Haoqian, I haven't been able to contact my sister lately. Has she reached out to you?" After a prolonged silence, Su Haoqian paused in his tidying, approaching me. "What is the matter? For heaven's sake, please don't look at me like that. Your gaze is far too captivating." Su Haoqian leaned in, his eyes fixed on mine. "What should you call me?" "Unsure," I responded. Su Haoqian? Is there something amiss?" Su Haoqian regarded me silently. "We are married. Using my full name feels too distant." A sense of foreboding crept over me as I instinctively retreated, only to find myself ensnared on the sofa, without an escape route. "Then what should I call you?" It hardly mattered. We would inevitably divorce, and it would make no difference. Su Haoqian seemed to grow irritated again, suddenly grasping my chin and kissing me. My eyes widened as my heart raced. He released me, his expression shadowed, his thumb brushing my lips gently. His voice came out husky. "Didn't you call me husband quite effortlessly before? Now, be a good girl and say it again." My mind swirled, and I instinctively complied, murmuring, "Husband." Su Haoqian's eyes shifted, and he leaned in to kiss me once more. A fleeting moment of clarity pierced through my haze. I abruptly pushed him away. "Why are you kissing me? What on earth was Su Haoqian doing? Shouldn't he be devoted to Tao Mengya?" His fervent gaze felt as though it could burn me alive. What is wrong with kissing my own wife? I averted my eyes, glancing down at his shirt, where 2 buttons had come undone, revealing his exquisite collarbone. My gaze lingered, unsure of where to settle. Noticing my silence, Su Haoqian's throat bobbed, and he softly prompted, The slight rise in his tone sent shivers down my spine. I could hardly bear it any longer. Ultimately, I fled from Su Haoqian's overwhelming presence, completely forgetting my initial inquiry. The next day, as Su Haoqian set off for work, I had barely arisen when I received a call from Fu Zhiyan. I had no prior connection with him and wondered why he was reaching out. Curiosity piqued. I answered only to hear his exasperated voice, "Tao Jingyan, keep your man in check." Just as I was about to inquire what had transpired, the call was abruptly terminated. After hanging up, I began to recall the original storyline. Shortly after fleeing home, Tao Mengya discovered she was pregnant and intended to surprise Fu Yanjia with the news. However, upon arriving at his company, she found him kissing his childhood friend. Heartbroken, Tao Mengya ran away and nearly got hit by a car while crossing the street, one driven by Su Haoqian. After learning the full story, Su Haoqian had offered to help Tao Mengya leave Fu Yanjia and care for her. Tao Mengya, filled with despair, acquiesced to Su Haoqian's request. He concealed her abroad, ensuring that Fu Zhiyan could not locate her. This act ignited a resentment within Fu Zhiyan towards Su Haoqian. who then devised every conceivable means to bring Su Haoqian to ruin. It seemed the narrative had reached a pivotal juncture, compelling me to hastily gather my belongings and flee. That evening, Su Haoqian did not return, yet he called me. Wife, his voice bore a faint trace of fatigue. I inquired with concern, what is it? At this hour. He still had time to call me. He replied, I have matters to attend to tonight, do not wait up for me. You should rest. I pondered, retorting that I had not been waiting for him, but ultimately decided against it as my departure was imminent. I merely murmured a soft acknowledgement. Just as I was about to end the call, he added, tomorrow, stay at home for me. I will take you somewhere. Though I was uncertain of his destination, I feigned compliance. However, my thoughts were already racing towards my escape before his return the following day. After hanging up, I promptly began packing my luggage and summoned my lawyer to draft a divorce agreement. By the time I completed these tasks, dawn was approaching. I signed the divorce papers and placed them prominently on the table. With one last glance at the place I had inhabited for nearly a year, I picked up my luggage and departed. I headed straight for the airport, having already booked a hotel abroad, intending to enjoy a brief getaway. To my astonishment, an unexpected figure appeared at the boarding gate. Su Haoqian, looking travel-worn and ominous, blocked my path. Wife, the day has barely dawned. Where do you intend to go so early? In the VIP lounge, Su Haoqian trapped me between the sofa and his arms. How could he be here? Wasn't he supposed to be abroad with Tao Mengya? My heart raced. Wife, are you not going to explain yourself? His bloodshot eyes bore into mine. I bit my lip, deciding to speak the truth, as I would have to face it eventually. Since we have encountered each other here, I shall speak plainly. Su Haoqian. We are getting a divorce, Before I could finish, he forcefully silenced me with his lips. It was as if he were venting his frustrations, kissing me passionately. And it took him an eternity to release me. What did you just say? Repeat it. I said we are getting a divorce, I managed to say. He kissed me again, silencing my unuttered words. Su Haoqian's breath wafted over my lips. Do you still wish to say it? I covered my mouth and shook my head, too intimidated to utter a sound. Su Haoqian must have lost his mind. He gazed into my eyes indeed. I have lost my sanity, on the verge of being driven mad by you. I stared at him wide-eyed, you. Su Haoqian smirked, what about me? Surely, he could not hear my innermost thoughts. He pecked my lips once more, just as you were thinking. A cracking sound echoed, and I realized it was my heart shattering. After a prolonged silence, I trembled and asked, since when did this begin? Su Haoqian smiled without much expression. Since high school. After you confessed to me, I suddenly could hear everything. That was precisely when my memories of my past life resurfaced. My vision blurred, and I nearly fainted. All those years, what had been the difference between my existence before him and being utterly exposed? Su Haoqian lamented. I do not comprehend why you are so resolute in believing I would develop feelings for Tao Mengya. Yet, I have loved you. Have I not made it evident enough over the years? I refuse to believe you could not see it, but you have always pushed me away. Do you know that every time you push me away, I want to tie you up and kiss you until you can no longer speak? I averted my gaze, unable to meet his eyes. Why? Naturally, it was because. Suddenly, I felt the weight of Su Haoqian's head resting on my shoulder as he fell asleep. He appeared utterly exhausted. Hesitantly, I lifted my hand to caress his dense short hair, my thoughts drifting back to the past. I was a reincarnated soul. But it was only in high school that I regained the memories of my previous life. Tao Mengya, Su Haoqian, and I had grown up together. Su Haoqian had always been exceptional, and I had unwittingly fallen for him. Just a second before I regained my previous memories, I had confessed to Su Haoqian. In the next moment, memories of my former life and the events in the book surged into my consciousness. I fled before I could hear his response, and began to avoid him. Days later, Su Haoqian could no longer contain himself and cornered me at the staircase, demanding to know what I meant. I was averse to complications and did not wish to entangle myself in their love triangle, nor did I want to humiliate myself. Thus, I uttered hurtful words. Su Haoqian. Do not misunderstand. I stated my last confession was merely a result of losing a game. I apologize. I kept my head lowered, too afraid to face his expression. Su Haoqian said nothing and turned to leave. I presumed he would ignore me from then on, yet the next day, he behaved as usual and accompanied us to school. I intended to quietly walk behind them, diminishing my presence, but Su Haoqian unexpectedly tossed a breakfast into my arms. Typically. Both Tao Mengya and I would sleep in and leave without breakfast, and Su Haoqian would bring us food every day. I found it perplexing. Why would Tao Mengya forsake such an outstanding man like Su Haoqian to pursue the scoundrel Fu Zhiyan? I speculated it might have stemmed from her strict upbringing. Fu Zhiyan was notorious as a school bully, proficient in skipping classes and fighting, yet he excelled academically, leaving teachers exasperated. He attracted the affections of numerous girls, including Tao Mengya. In contrast, Su Haoqian was the epitome of a diligent student. At that time, with strict parental oversight, Tao Mengya likely rebelled and sought to engage in reckless behavior alongside Fu Zhiyan, showing no interest in the obedient Su Haoqian. My relationship with Tao Mengya was also rather ordinary. Given that my academic performance surpassed hers, my parents constantly compared her to me, which led her to harbor resentment towards me. Naturally, I did not wish to be disliked. Eventually, Su Haoqian and I resumed our previous interactions, with neither of us mentioning the past. However, Su Haoqian had changed. There was something in his gaze that I could not comprehend. I considered making an effort. Yet I could see the storyline from the original book unfolding before my eyes. I dared not gamble. I feared that, in the end, Su Haoqian would, as in the original story, fall for Tao Mengya and choose to abandon me. Better to have never begun than to be forsaken. After Su Haoqian awoke, he whisked me away to a quaint town abroad. We halted before a grand house, and before he could knock, the door swung open, revealing Tao Mengya's face before me. I stole a sideways glance at Su Haoqian, thinking, is he bringing his legitimate wife to meet his mistress? How thrilling! Su Haoqian shot me a glare, and through clenched teeth, he whispered in my ear, dare to think such thoughts again, and I shall kiss you senseless. I retreated a step, covering my mouth, casting him a sidelong glance. What a pervert. All these years, your relationship appears as strong as ever, Tao Mengya said with a gentle smile, inviting us inside. I couldn't help but steal glances at her. I wondered what she had experienced during this time. She had changed significantly. The most noticeable difference was her demeanor, which had become more graceful and serene. Upon seeing me, she even offered me a warm smile. Tao Mengya recounted the events she had encountered recently. Just as in the original narrative, she had become pregnant and intended to inform Fu Zhiyan, only to discover his betrayal. Heartbroken, she sought Su Haoqian's assistance in fleeing abroad to escape Fu Zhiyan. Gently caressing her abdomen, her expression exuded tenderness. I have come to a realization. Continuing to entangle myself with him serves no purpose, she mused. Since their feelings are mutual, it would be better to facilitate their union. My expression was a tumult of emotions as I grappled with the decision of whether to reveal the truth to her. In reality, Fu Zhiyan and Xiaoqingmei did not share a kiss. It was merely a matter of perspective, with Xiaoqingmei deliberately putting on a show knowing she had arrived. Ultimately, I refrained from disclosing this information. A man like Fu Zhiyan, even if this instance was a misunderstanding, may very well act on his desires in the future. I also could not explain how, despite not being present, I was aware of their affairs. Furthermore, even if I chose silence, Fu Zhiyan would inevitably come seeking me out. It was merely a question of time. In a moment of distraction, Su Haoqian grasped my hand and affectionately inquired, "What are you pondering?" I shook my head and instinctively glanced at Tao Mengya. In the original narrative, she regarded Su Haoqian as her possession, even if she did not harbor feelings for him. She would not permit him to like anyone else. Yet, I observed Tao Mengya displaying a smile tinged with envy. I truly envy the bond you two share. I instinctively retorted, there is nothing between him and me. Su Haoqian squeezed my hand in a manner that silenced the remainder of my words. Tao Mengya remarked, if only I had chosen Brother Haoqian back then, perhaps I could. Before she could finish, Su Haoqian interrupted her sharply. His gaze fixed on me, he declared. From the beginning, my affections have only been for her. Tao Mengya offered a mockingly exasperated smile. You truly cannot wait to distance yourself from me, can you? All right. I do not wish to partake in your dog food. You two should leave, she insisted. We were ushered out by Tao Mengya. On our return journey, I was beset with numerous questions, yet I found myself at a loss for words. Thus, I quietly pondered, Su Haoqian, if you do not harbor feelings for Tao Mengya, why do you assist her in every conceivable way? Assist her in every way? Su Haoqian replied with a hint of exasperation, I have only aided her this once. What else have I done? More than just that, I insisted, fixing him with a serious look. Su Haoqian cast me a sidelong glance and asked, "What else have I done for her?" I began to enumerate. In high school, when she quarreled with Fu Zhiyan, you pretended to be her boyfriend to provoke him. Before the college entrance exams, she clung to you every day for tutoring, and you obliged. In university, when she was bullied by Fu Zhiyan's childhood sweetheart, you stood up for her. As I recounted these memories, I realized how vividly they remained in my mind. To claim indifference would be impossible. Su Haoqian remarked, "Now consider this. After marriage, will I still have any contact with her?" I pondered for a moment before shaking my head. Su Haoqian continued, "Not to mention we grew up together. If I can help, I will. Moreover, which of the matters you mentioned does not concern you?" I looked at him in confusion. Su Haoqian responded slowly, pretending to be her boyfriend was intended to provoke jealousy in you. Tutoring her was not without you present. I simply wanted to see you every day. During university, wasn't it you who first stood up for her when she was bullied, prompting me to intervene? An astonishing thought struck me. Uncertain, I asked, "So all your actions were for my sake?" Su Haoqian affirmed with a nonchalant tone, "And yet, there is a certain ungrateful individual who always seeks to hand me over to someone else." I felt my face flush and retorted defiantly, "Then why did you help her escape abroad to avoid Fu Zhiyan?" Su Haoqian pinched my cheek lightly. "Isn't it simply because a certain little fool is concerned for her? She is your sister, and thus my sister. It is only right that I assist her." I was utterly taken aback by this reasoning, left speechless. "What's wrong? Lost for words?" Su Haoqian leaned closer, teasingly asking, "Shouldn't someone make it up to me?" Just as he was about to kiss me, a sudden thought struck me, and I quickly covered his mouth. "Wait, there's one more thing. Fu Zhiyan knows about your assistance to Tao Mengya and may ruin you." Su Haoqian chuckled softly. "Do not worry, I will not allow you to suffer alongside me." His words lingered between our lips. Su Haoqian was attuned to my innermost thoughts. He had been prepared for this over the years. Not only had he implemented defensive measures, but he had also leveraged information asymmetry to orchestrate Fu Zhiyan's downfall. I held out my phone to Su Haoqian. "You truly brought Fu Zhiyan to ruin?" Su Haoqian glanced at the news on the screen, responding with casual nonchalance. "As you can see." "Su Haoqian, you're incredible," I exclaimed, thrilled at the thought of him toppling the original male lead. In my excitement, I threw my arms around him in a bear hug. Su Haoqian enveloped me in his embrace, his nose brushing against mine. "What will you call me?" My heart raced, and my gaze flickered. I suddenly remember I have something to attend to. I must take my leave. Su Haoqian pulled me back and captured my lips in a deep kiss. 7 months later, Tao Mengya gave birth to a lovely baby boy, and Su Haoqian and I visited her. She had established her own life and no longer revolved around Fu Zhiyan. We shared the news of Fu Zhiyan's bankruptcy with her, and she smiled subtly. "His current circumstances are of no concern to me." It seemed she had genuinely moved on. Upon returning home, Su Haoqian pinned me against the wall, affectionately inquiring, "Wife, when shall we have a child of our own?" I looked up and pecked his lips. "Now would be just fine." Su Haoqian sighed, "Fortunately, I can hear your heart's desires. Otherwise, we might have missed this moment." I felt a shiver run down my spine. Indeed, Su Haoqian could hear my thoughts, which meant I would have no privacy in his presence. Oh well, let it be. The end. Thank you for listening. We shall meet again in the next story.